Hi Collective, today I thought that I would do a beginner's guide to working with your ancestors. Now, I don't consider myself an expert on ancestors, but I do know it's something I'm very passionate about. I love to talk to my ancestors every day. I love to venerate my ancestors, and it's something that my children enjoy and take part in too. So, what I lack in knowledge, I make up for in passion. But anyway, let's get started. Now, some people will tell you that you can work with any ancestors because when people pass over, they are transformed. However, I've heard from a lot of experts, I've spoken to people who are initiated in Africa. I've spoken to people who are practitioners here of different traditions, and they say that the best thing to do when you start working with your ancestors is to ask for the ones who work in your highest good to draw near to you, and the ones who work with your best interests and love you, because that means that there are ancestors out there then who might not work in your highest good. And some people ask for the ancestors who can work with them to connect them to the highest energy that they are able to at their point in their spiritual ascension or awakening. We'll be able to work with them to connect with them at that point. Yeah. So, what I do is I like to leave offerings for my ancestors. There's some people just have a time of day where they think this is best. There's some traditions that say that we should do this before sunset. Now, for me, I like to work intuitively with my ancestors. So whenever I feel a draw that I feel like I should feed them, I do a little plate of food. Sometimes it's food that I am cooking anyway. And sometimes it's food that I specifically prepare. Sometimes you can do things like even cutting up some fruit. But as anything you prepare for them, as you're preparing it, put the energy of love into it, put the energy of light, put the connectedness into the food as you're doing it. You only have to do a small bowl. It's nice also to place water on your altar as well. If you haven't got an altar, just have a corner or somewhere, even if it's on the side in your kitchen, that's where you like to place your offerings. You can, so water's nice. Some traditions say that you can leave alcohol for your ancestors, some say don't. But a lovely lady I like to follow on YouTube called Voodoo Diva, you should check her out. In one of her Instagram posts where it was a day of venerating the ancestors, she said about leaving rum, that they like rum or black coffee, but don't give it boiling hot. Anything you put on your altar or to pour a libation, don't do boiling hot. So don't put boiling hot food on, and don't do boiling hot libations. Pouring a libation is pouring liquid into the ground. I do this outside. I heard someone say something about not outside recently for them, but I do it outside. I like to pour it onto the earth because I feel like it's connected with nature. I feel like we come from nature. Our ancestors in spirit are vibrating with nature. So pouring outside is like giving it to them through Mother Nature. So I pour a libation to them. I say a few words. You can have words that mean something to you when you speak to your ancestors. Whenever I give an offering, I say this is to the ancestors who work in my highest good, both known and unknown. And you can say those on my father's side, those on my mother's side. You can add any words that you feel are right for you. Some people give offerings to the ancestors of their house, because there might be people who have lived in your house that are not connected to you, but try and look after you and your children. or you and your family. So some people do a thing called ancestor money. I've tried this before as well, and it did work because I only tried it a bit. But you can buy ancestor money off like Amazon, and some people just use that children's play money. But it's the energy of money, because money in this life is currency, and currents are to do with water, and water is to do with consciousness. So you can offer you burn the ancestor money in like a dish or outside as an offering of the energy to the ancestors. So that's something that people do as well. Another thing you can do is just talk to them. Talk to them, give them your attention. Attention is energy. Energy flows where attention goes. So if you give them your energy, remember your ancestors are you and you are them. So you give them your energy, then that energizes them. So talking about them, sing to them, chant, clap, give your energy, and they will appreciate it, because the only way they can help us is if we help them, and the only way they can progress on the other side is if they're given energy to progress. So some traditions say there's such thing as dead relatives, which means ones who haven't been given the energy to get to be an ancestor because their family ain't working with them or doing offerings or anything. You can also go to get a reading with a practitioner who might be able to tell you the things that your ancestors require from you in energy, in offerings. There is a side of all this as well where, because they are you and you are them, that you can intuitively decide how you want to run your relationship with your ancestors. And that's mainly how I do it. I take bits and pieces from different traditions that I've heard of, and I work with what resonates with me. Now, a question was asked recently is, what do you do with the offerings when you've had them on your altar? Now, some people choose to offer it back to the earth, so they take it outside and offer it to the earth, so they offer it to the earth spirits and the earth ancestors. I've heard of people who leave offerings there for a few hours and then eat it themselves, because they say they are the ancestors are them, so then they ingest it. Some people just throw it away, which always feels a bit bad to do that for me, but that's not bad for anyone else. Make sure you regularly do the offerings though, and make sure you regularly put water out and change it, because it can all get stagnant if we're not regularly doing what we're supposed to. And this is something I have to remind myself of, because especially during all that's been going on with the world, I've been a bit distracted at times, and it's probably the time mostly when I should be doing the most work with my ancestors. So remember that. Some people do, like, they spiritually cleanse themselves before they speak to ancestors, or spiritually cleanse themselves before they do offerings, so that they don't feel like they are sending any like grime or dirt into the other world. But you can do a cleansing if you want with just a 5-minute meditation. Even if you come onto YouTube and look up for 5-minute spiritual cleansing meditation, you can do that. Whatever makes you feel spiritually cleansed, you can just imagine a white light going through you, or whatever colour light makes you feel cleansed, and do it that way. But just do however feels right for you. No one size fits all with spirituality. You have to do what's right for you, because your ancestors might have done things their way. But it's been nice talking to you today, Collective. I'll speak to you soon. Namaste.